What's up, nerds? Uneducated Psychologist here with another video. Instead of an IRL case study, we've got a YouTube comment discussion or attempt to have a discussion, which kind of broke down into who can go the most idiot in their comments, who could be the most pretentious and, think they're smart. Well, that's what pretentious means, but who can think they're smarter in the comments and who can outsmart the other person, because that's how you win arguments in YouTube comments now. I mean, I don't know. This is a pretty embarrassing video, honestly. But again, the whole point of this channel is to learn and try and improve ourselves. And if I can't look at my own comments and really break down what I said, then why the fuck am I even here? So let's get right into it. Never go full artist. And if you full artist, because you know what the word really is, right? Autist. So an YouTube comment section case study presented by Uneducated Psychologist. So let's hop right into it. It's kind of tough to see this stuff. Again, all PowerPoint links are in the description below if you want to read anything. The purpose of this video, really, I'm going to give a little bit of context with the original comment from the YouTube video, go over briefly a couple discussions that we had to set the context, and then we're going to get into the, argument or discussion, whatever, with the kid who had the artist off with me. Who could be the most pretentious, who could call the other person out, use the most big words or whatever, who knows? So, both of us went full retard. Who went the fullest retard? What are the major miscommunications? He calls me out for using leftist techniques. I call him out for doing it, I guess. Or I just try to call out what's happening when I'm trying to get to a certain point. But you'll read. We'll go through everything. And, what's the deal? What the hell happens? Because this is what happens all the time in YouTube comments. And not comments that I comment on. I'll just be scrolling through and I'll just see people just paragraph dumping each other, right? So let's take a little look and see what happens. So Keith, the original poster, the original comment being replied to for all of this, is on a video about hate watching shows. In specific, it's about Velma, the most recent Scooby-Doo knockoff show, and it's a video about how it's designed to get you to hate watch it so that it could be popular, because no one would watch it if it wasn't designed to rile you up, because who would want to watch a gender-bending, diversity, whatever? No one would go out of their way if it was a new show, but once they label it with Velma, it's like, oh, now they're purposefully riling up the fans in hopes that they would watch the show. So the first person to comment, Keith, OP, the original comment was, I don't understand how people can hate watch shows. It's like buying concert tickets to a band that you don't like, with the exception that you won't like their music, and getting angry after being at the concert because you hated their music. Seriously, just don't watch the stuff that you don't like and the problem will go away on its own. Basically saying, just hey, don't buy the ticket or don't watch it and you won't get pissed off and these people won't succeed. Simple. So I wanted to respond he says, I don't understand why. So I was curious what he would say to me, someone who's telling him specifically why I hate watch. That's the whole purpose of my comment, waiting for him to respond. And he has a great response, which we'll get to soon. So I say, I can tell you why I personally hate watch shows. When conversing with people who think they're better than you, the only way to convince them otherwise is to have participated in whatever bullshit they're acting high and mighty about. Or at least that's how I've seen you can enter the door and not get totally shit on. It's like, well, I've seen it, so can you at least give me 2 seconds to talk? So don't watch it and the problem will go away on its own, referring to his original comment, except that's not how life works, or at least that's not how my life works, personally, anecdotally. Even when I've tried to ignore things in the past, it ends up wiggling its way into my life somehow. So instead of sticking my hand in the sand like a dumbass, I do my best to prepare myself. And in this thing, stick my hand in the sand like a dumbass is referring to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, when they find out the Earth's going to get destroyed, and they're like, oh shit, what do we do? And he's like, I guess you could just put a bag on your head and go lay on the ground or something. So that was what I did. I wasn't trying to call Keith a dumbass, although in retrospect, I can see how that came out, right? But for the record, Keith, not calling you a dumbass. I played The Last of Us 2. I watched the new Halo series. I've sat through every episode pre-digital edit of Game of Thrones Season 8. I've watched the Amy Schumer special. I've seen Ghostbusters 2016. I did all of that so I could detail with specific examples why the high and mighty opinions that are here are so filled with shit. Why the motivations behind these shows and decisions have further reaching consequences, and why I need to understand these decisions to prepare my dinner, to prepare my family not given to this bullshit. I'd rather suffer through 3 seasons of Big Mouth so my kids don't have to, and if their friends say, hey, you should really watch this show, it's hilarious, my kids can say, actually, that show attempts to normalize trends that have been proved to show increased pedophiliac and grooming tendency as adults, and it's dangerous to think that's how normal children should act. Now, there's a lot of presumption and a lot of different things you could break down for, I guess, how I'm loading the questions, how I'm presenting it, different things like that. I didn't call out Keith. I tried not to. This was just me kind of explaining myself. And I mean, there are definitely, mental tricks that I was using, which is maybe where Gio's trying to get. But I thought this was a good comment to try and explain myself to Keith, not tearing down Keith, just kind of going through, kind of understanding to just, get along. I've got a comment by Ergoproxy that I replied to, and as it's part of the conversation with the person who goes into the full retard, argument with me, I decided to include this. I'll read it very quick. So Ergoproxy says, except who is suffering here? The people who act high and mighty would still stick to their opinions and try to validate their points. Even if they fail to failed to explain why the show is so good, they would just argue and bring stupid arguments into it. It's their trash chase. Why do you have to waste time to confirm that their taste is trash? Now, what you do is basically waste a lot of your time that you could have used for something else. My friends used to tell me to watch Rick and Morty. I watched 3 or 4 episodes of it, and it was immediately turned off. I didn't go on a masochistic crusade of watching 7 seasons of Rick and Morty just to say to their face that their show sucked. I just said it's not my cup of tea, and we moved on. Even if you say Big Mouth or whatever is garbage, whatever garbage is bad to your kids, they would still watch it, whether it's due to peer pressure or due to their own curiosity. Again, if you just wasted what is basically time required to finish 3 seasons of Big Mouth and no one came out as a winner, please don't hate watch things. All you do is waste your time and then waste further time trying to convince people why the show sucked. I mean, seriously, do you have to watch 4 seasons of Paradise PD or Prince or any of the Adult Swim animated shows to say it's bad? Maybe your friends like the raunchy type of humor, even if it's a creatively bankrupt show. So, great comment. And that's why I responded to it, because it was great. So, first off, to address it, you act like there are people whose minds I haven't changed or people whose perceptions haven't been altered because I've been able to relate to them. Thanks to having seen the source material. That was addressing his original point where, why waste your time? These people aren't going to change. Why are you doing this? You're wasting that. And I say, man, you were pretty fucking negative. I've had people I've made progress. It's not like I would be doing this if I didn't have any progress or any success with people or if I hadn't learned lessons. Obviously, there are people who will never change their opinions ever. Usually they're younger. When properly presented, many people are open to new opinions, or at least hearing me out specifically because I've seen the show. Again, getting that foot in the door at least gives me the 30 seconds of talking time. They might not respect my opinion. However, they respect the time I try and understand their side of the discussion. Additionally, my kids will never watch Big Mouth while I'm in the house because I am their parent. And when they're in my house, they follow my rules. I'm not a parent that just lets my kids do and watch whatever they want. If that's how you were raised, good for you. Just don't pretend every family is like that. When my kids turn 18 and or move out, yeah, they can do whatever they want. However, that will be after they have been taught critical thinking and mindful ways while consuming content. So something that I didn't write in this comment, which I bring up in a second, that's why I'm taking the second to pause here, was I could have mentioned, oh, well, when they're out with their friends, they can watch whatever, even if they're under 18. But I thought that I had a better point, so I kept going. And so my note after that was, final note, considering the episodic and multi-concurrent themed style of Rick and Morty, admitting you've only seen a few episodes before turning off just shows how close-minded and worthless your opinion is. Could have been a little bit more gentle on there. You admit that you barely put in any work and just go with whatever people say in your echo chamber. So instead of telling them their show sucks, you should be more honest with yourself and say, I do not have an opinion on Rick and Morty because it's something I've decided is not worth my time based on the opinions of others, opinions which I agree with. And because of their opinions on other topics, Therefore, instead of arguing with me, you should go leave a comment on this YouTube video, which is where my opinion comes from. Which, I mean, I think pretty much lines up with what he says. You know, like, hey man, you watched 3 or 4 episodes, but you really didn't give it a shot considering how, you know, there's all this, you know, smart people stuff because there's Rick and Morty is a smart person show, you know? So there's all these different things going on. Maybe you didn't like one theme, but now you like another theme. Like Rick and Morty even references when they do a world jump where they go, oh, this is season 1, Jerry. And like now we've got other stuff. So it's like, you know, maybe you didn't like that one, but you would have liked another. And I bring that up again in the future. So, you know, it was about effort, I guess, you know, and maybe doing a little bit of research before, you know, putting in that, or making sure, you know, because if we're talking about wasted time, watching 3 or 4 episodes that you already know or you're not going to like, or maybe they're just episodes that you don't know you're not going to like, but episodes that traditionally, like if you look at like the general rated of, because Rick and Morty fans have rated every episode. If you look at those episodes, if you watch like the first 3 or 4 episodes, they're not high rated episodes by people that enjoy Rick and Morty. So if you're not someone that enjoys Rick and Morty and you're watching episodes that are bad and they're not part of like something in the future that you may like, I mean, why? And you're talking about wasting time? I mean, like, damn. So I reply to Julian Taylor, which I have in here, which just for, again, transparency, if you want to stop and read it, we'll, you know, stop and read it. But I'm going to move on to my Ergo Proxy. Now that I'm done with Ergo Proxy, we're going to go on to, and this is all the pre-context. We're now going to go into the main discussion with the main, where we go into the real, who can be the bigger autist now. So that's all the context, all the preface, all the pre-everything. Let's get into the meat and veggies of the video. So, enter Gio Serpo. Main autist fight. Begin. So, he responds to Ergo Proxy, and then he responds to me. I'm not going to read the Ergo Proxy response. I just have it in there again for sake of context. So let's go right into our discussion, which is based off of that comment from Ergo Proxy that I just read off, or my response to his comment, okay? So, Gio Serpo. So let me touch on your final note for a second. If I watch 2 episodes of any show that I just randomly saw while browsing Hulu, that I know nothing or have heard nothing about, and I don't like what I'm seeing, then I'm closed-minded and have a worthless opinion because I'm somehow going with the crowd. I don't know if I used going with the crowd. I just read all of that. I don't know if I said that, but we'll go with it. Because even if dude had already made up his mind about Rick and Morty being bad, he did try to watch it. And that does count for something. Again, we have just established that he's talking about that Ergo Proxy is talking about wasting time, and then I just presented an argument about not with something that diverse, you're essentially wasting your time when you don't do a little bit of research considering how much is going on. But again, I understand that, oh, if you know nothing about Rick and Morty, but that's such a disingenuous argument considering how many people who have at least, you know, they might not know Rick and Morty, but they know Rick and Morty fans. Like, Szechuan sauce, where's my Szechuan sauce? I mean, hundreds of millions of people have seen that shit. So I just think that's a little, it's not saying it's not impossible that people haven't heard of it. Just understand the context you're proposing and the things like that. So now moving on. He did try and watch it, and that does count for something. It sure as hell counts for more than hate watching as a way to argue with people whose minds will never change. Also, I hate to break it to you, but unless your kids are homeschooled and have no friends they go visit, they're just cooped up in the house all day, every day, then they're going to see and do things that you don't want to do. That's just how it is. Everyone caves to peer pressure at some point, and anyone who claims they didn't is a liar, or was too abused to never have their was too abused to never have peers to deal with it. So they were in the house so much that they didn't have any friends, is what he's saying. So by what you're saying, not only are you a hypocrite because you choose to support things that you hate, but you're also either a liar or an abusive father. So we're going to go into things later in the video, but again, we're trying to see who called out the other for projecting, who went the most pretentious, who went full autist first. I'm going to have the opinion that he called me out first for doing things like that, right? So, and again, remember, I love how you said like, oh, well, unless your kids are like, unless you're beating your kids or they have no friends, when they're outside of the house, they're obviously going to do whatever, which again is something that less than like 5 minutes ago, you remember I just said that I didn't bring up that point because I wanted to skip ahead. Well, that was something I could have. So let's address it now that it is being brought up, and you'll see why I didn't want to talk about it. So if someone wants to train for, I bring up the first point because he's talking about him attempting, he did try to watch it. So to try and address that point, I try and come up with something more relatable or something that I can relate things to try and bring a comprehensive argument to the, because I do want to address this guy's comment. I do seriously, Gio, if you're watching this, it's not like I'm mad. It is literally like I'm trying to learn. That's the whole point. If you haven't gotten the message here. So if someone wants to train to run a marathon, would you consider training to be getting up and going for a 5-minute walk and then coming back and deciding, nah, too much work. Nah, I don't like running. Or would a reasonable reaction be, kind of sounds like you didn't try? Because, with a show, again, as diverse as Rick and Morty, where every season's got different stuff and there's all these fucking themes and it tries to be so smart and it's got this fan base and all of this context and everything behind it, just watching season 1, episode 1, 2, 3, 4, that's fucking disingenuous in my opinion. You can think that that's, full effort, and I'm not going to sit here and break down the amount of hours that Rick and Morty has and then compare 4 episodes, which is 80 minutes compared to the total runtime of all the episodes across all the seasons, then do a mathematical breakdown and then compare that percentage of numbers to this other percentage. And then because that, if I wanted to go even more autist and really have a true, stinky, smelly autist off, that would be where I want to go, right? But I'm not doing that. I'm just giving a quick example so that I can then relate that amount of effort, that effort argument, without going through the full depth of that, just trying to, do this real effort example. If he really wanted to give the show a shot, maybe he would ask the people who tell him to watch Rick and Morty, because I got to assume there's somebody out there that said, hey man, you should watch Rick and Morty. And he's like, okay, maybe I'll watch first 3 episodes or something. So ask those people, hey, okay, I already don't think I'm going to like this show. So if your show is so great, give me some of your favorite or best written episodes and I'll watch those. Because, I feel like giving this first 3 episodes that are low rated and everything like that, I don't think that's going to be, I don't think that's going to be so great. So that way I'm not just watching the first 2 or 3 episodes of a trash season that even Rick and Morty fans have rated lower than others. So that was the point of those 2 paragraphs, to combo those together. Now, moving on. Are you pretending like I can't ask my kids what they did at their friend's house? Or that they'd lie to me if I asked them? Or did your parents never ask you about your hobbies growing up? It's kind of funny because I was going to bring this up in my original comment. However, it was getting too long. No fucking shit, my kid can do whatever they want when they're not in my house. Does that mean I can't ask them what they've done and talk to them about it afterwards? Hey, John, did you have fun at Timmy's house? Yeah, Dad, it was super fun. We watched a show called Big Mouth. Have you heard about it? Oh, yes, I have heard about it. I didn't want you to watch it unless it was with me. Do you mind if we watch it together so you can tell me what you like most about the show? And then I ended up with a little bit of a douchey, I'll admit this is douchey. Nice try, though. Got anything else you could come up with? Because I think I addressed everything that I could. And, I didn't want to bring this part of the comment up, but I had to. So, here comes the response, boys and girls. You all ready for this? This is why this video is called Who Can Out-Autist the Other? Or something along those lines. Sheesh! Look at this It takes up the whole shit. It takes up the whole fucking thing. Like, I've had some beefy comments, don't get me wrong, right? But like, damn, my man took up the whole he used 10,000 out of 10,000 fucking characters for this comment. Whew. And this video's already at 20 fucking minutes, bro. God damn. If you made it this long, whew, I hope you learned something, because I know I fucking learned a lot from this shit. Oh, okay. I hope you're ready. Yes, because training for a marathon or liking and disliking our show are the exact same thing. You just tore down your arguments with that first paragraph and made yourself look like an idiot doing. But I'll bite. And now I'm going to read the rest of this, I promise. I'm sorry for pausing. Just understand, from my immediate gut shot opinion reading this, he obviously missed my point. That's not what I was doing. It's not what I was doing. The whole point of those first two paragraphs down here was to make a point about effort and talking about wasting time and not waste and trying to progress that conversation. It wasn't about comparing liking or disliking a TV show. It was about the amount of effort and wasting time and hate watching and better things like that. That was the whole point of that. So now let's go. And now that we understand that his understanding of what I was trying to say is different than is, at least for me, I'm the one who wrote the comment, so I can tell you it's different than what I was trying to say. But we'll go with him. We'll hear him out. We'll listen to what he's going to say. I'm going to read through this fast. I'm not going to pause. We're just going to fucking go to it. After a few years back, I was in a pretty serious incident with my extended church family. We lost 2 people that day and even have a small local holiday to remember it. The first year after the church had a marathon, a 5K to be exact. Now, I'm not a athletic person, I know this. One look at my challenge, pretty easy to see. I do walk, though, about 2 miles a day. I always have to slow walker. It takes about half an hour for that. No, I'm not athletic enough to run a 5K. I know that I can. I'm not talking to anyone who can or can't. As a matter of fact, that's not for me. And as a result of, and that has nothing to do with the issue at hand. I think this is what they refer to as deflecting. It's a common thing for people to do when losing debates. Attempt to change the subject when the person deflecting is at the losing end of a debate. So, moving on. Your Rick and Morty example. He did say he gave it a shot. If the first 3 episodes aren't for him, then why should he waste his time on watching any more episodes? Again, I've already said why he should. I've explained that because of all the different themes and how seasons change and everything. Even if other people are saying it got better or whatever, first impressions always stick around. So if I've seen the first 3 episodes and don't like them myself, then that bad first impression is going to stick around. 9 times out of 10, it stays bad. So unless you've got fear of missing out, you just be wasting your time. You seem to be trying to divisive for the sake of being divisive. There's no reason for you to tell other people what they should or shouldn't watch or like. And at the end of the day, if you're supporting companies, allowing them to continue to be shitty, you know it's immortal. If you do that, you feel better about yourself. You make yourself feel better. You have to try to explain all the bad of it. Again, we're not even going to talk about pirating shows, things archived, group watch parties on other people's accounts. Not going to go into any of that, but that is something that I haven't talked about for a reason, because that would make this video even longer. Also, I stand by what I said. We were all kids once. We all know what it was like. But again, to answer your questions, I'm sure you ask your kids what they do, and I'm sure that sometimes they lie to you. My parents were always involved in my hobbies, but they weren't breathing about my neck to know about every TV show or movie I watched or song I listened to when I wasn't at home. If I saw a movie I liked, I brought up and talked about it. If I saw one I didn't, they were never the wiser. Okay, great point. Except you go to explain how old you are, and your age when you were growing up did not have social media, because he's about 24, 26, somewhere in there, right? He did not have social media and these types of political shows and shows that turns out get written by active pedophiles and all sorts of crazy shit, right? So parents back then didn't have as much concern as parents do now. Just, again, now moving on. But let me tell you one final thing about that that'll make you feel at least a little better, especially if you're raising them right. If they are lying to you now, they'll come around and tell you when they're adults. When I was like 14, I started smoking weed, and for the next 4 years, my parents were never the wiser. About 10 years later, I was hanging out with my best friend, we were smoking, and I kept this guilty feeling. I called my mom, told her what I was doing, and I told her I started 15 living with her. She was obviously upset about it, but told me as long as I was keeping paying my bills. She didn't care what I did otherwise. Of course, now the tables have turned and I'm taking care of her now, but that's besides the point. Point is, don't worry about what they're watching or what they're doing now, because you can't protect them forever. Nobody's perfect. And if they were doing wrong and they were raised right, they'll come around. If you keep bringing them to the next, they'll go on before they're 18. You'll never be lucky, and you'll be lucky if they ever talk to you again. That's the truth. I know it's hard to hear. Hurts. That's always a tough life. That seems like he calls me out for projecting. That seems like an awful lot of projecting, because I will tell, for him, he does not know this about me, but I also started smoking, and I also told my mom, right? And it's interesting, comparison-wise, my mom knew about it, and as opposed to his mom, which didn't know, and he was lying to his mom, my mom knew and was just waiting for me to come forward before she asked me about it. And it showed about my character and how they raised me, that I went to them about something that they knew that they could have confronted me about, you know, a little bit of a test. And it's interesting how, you know, it's like, it seems like you bring this up, but you never ask if your mom ever asked you, hey, what were you doing with your friends when you went out, whatever. You just never told her about it, you know, which is, again, fundamentally different than the situation I am proposing, where I actively am communicating with my kids. And again, the whole idea behind me teaching my kids and everything, not having them spend this time at home, because when they are with me, they will be learning mindfulness, critical thinking, so that when they come into these situations and have a mentality much different than yours, and they know their dad smokes, they can go into these situations, smoke all the weed they want, and then come back home and be like, hey, Dad, I started smoking weed, you know, like, I want to talk to you about it. Maybe we'll smoke a little bit together. Who knows how I'd interact? Who knows how old my kids are in this situation? But we'll move on. It's also worth noting that with time, people's tastes change. I find myself looking back at movies I used to like, or even music and TV shows, and not really liking it that much, or in my personal case, liking things I didn't used to like. I watched like 20 minutes of the first Harry Potter movie with a friend when it came out, and really wasn't into it then. Recently, I decided to give it another chance. I've been marathoning through them. I'll be starting the Deathly Hallows Part 1 after I'm done here. My tastes have changed, though, because I'm enjoying it. Is this also something that happens to everybody? So if the dude didn't like Rick and Morty now, then what does it say he didn't give it a chance, didn't give it a second chance in 10 years to find that his tastes have changed? Again, how do you know that if someone who liked Harry Potter didn't give you a specific place to start or movies to start, places that you have not mentioned in the comment? Maybe you saw a GIF, you saw something online, you saw a YouTube comment, you saw something and you're like, hey, maybe I should go watch those. And then you go back and you like it. That was my whole point. Giving someone somewhere to start from that gives them the highest chance of success, so that even if it is a waste of time, it is the best, most efficient waste of time that they can have. So, in closing, now that you have torn down your own arguments by deflecting and encouraging me to entertain myself by allowing me to tear them down even further, I'll see myself off. Don't bother replying. That would be a lost cause. Because let's face it, you're probably one of those people who will start an argument, get a response, and then out of sheer laziness, be like, it's too long. You know, because you don't have time for long comments, since you waste your time watching things that are universally hated and change people's mind. Holy shit. That was a fucking slog. So now, Keith responds. I respond to Keith. Don't worry, we're going to go real quick into this. You can read PowerPoint, go down below. It's already 28-minute fucking long video. We ain't going to stretch this out any longer. Believe me, we coming to the end, folks. So Keith basically has the opinion. The OP comes back with a fucking super thorough, great comment. Him and I have a great back and forth. Beautiful. He just says, hey, he's like 40 years old. He spent his whole life being risk averse, not dealing with this shit. Literally doing exactly what I say. Stick his head in the sand. Hey, aliens come invade. I won't even know, because I'll die painlessly before I take my head out of the sand and realize there are aliens. Which is fine. Perfectly fine. There are people that stick their head in their sands, and there's not. It's just two different things. And Keith just elaborated further on that. Exact response. Feel free to pause and read. Keith, thank you so much. And we have me responding to that huge autist comment, basically saying, hey, you gonna get a YouTube video, baby. This right here, because, whew, holy shit, 30 fucking minutes. Wow. Keith responds, because him and I just have, a great little back and forth. He closes that out. You can close it out. Monty, another great comment. If you want to stop and read, pause, stop and read, go for it. Description down below. I respond to Monty. One more response to Gio, letting him know that I was a little sick. This video is going to be delayed, scheduled for Saturday. Thank you for watching this far if you have. And so, we're at the end. Woo! At the end, baby. So, now that I've shown how we are both full fucking retards, have both gone full autist in this comment section, both of us think we're smarter than the other. Both of us are hypocrites who have done all sorts of shit, talking all blah, blah, blah to each other. Who do you think went the fuller retard? Who do you think won? What fucking lessons did you learn? Comment them down in the section below. This video is 30 fucking minutes. Holy shit. And to be fully transparent, again, because this was the end, this was the final, there are comments afterwards bringing politics into this, even though where did politics come from? Just goes to show the kind of mentality. I don't try to, I ain't going to go into that shit though, but it's all inside here, all in the PowerPoint. So thank you very much for watching. Hope you learned something. Uneducated Psychologist, subscribe. Have a great day. Smoke grass, eat ass. Deuces.